So your audio is good, Ben.
I'm trying to clear my throat. I've had like a frog in my throat all day, but I think I'm good.
Will, you sound like you're eating your microphone.
I probably am. I was actually.
Yeah. I was just like, you're all of a sudden like this.
How about now?
That's fine. That's good.
Okay.
I'm gonna get real close to the microphone.
I was just slowly inching back the box.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 63 for the week of April 19th, 2020. I'm your host, Drew, and I am joined by Will. Will, what's going on, man?
Surviving, man. Hanging by a thread as usual.
God damn it, will you come up with something new for once?
No, it's my slogan now.
Oh, God, we're going to get that printed on a t-shirt, dude.
I know. I can't wait.
You know, I just want to get some real quick business out of the way and dive right into things because, we got some shit to talk about, and it's not just you and me today, right?
Mm-hmm. We do have a guest.
So let me just hit the ground running. Let's turn that fire hose on or whatever it is that you guys say. And check us out on the web at WDGRPodcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Follow me at ScienceStorm. Will, how can they find you?
On Twitter, Will_Gear.
Will, I'm going to kick it over to you now. Please introduce our guest.
Sure. I'm happy to announce that we have Mr. Ben Todd with us today. Ben, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, man. I mean, we've been working together now for at least a couple months, and early on, like meeting you, I just knew that we were going to get along because you're a gamer, I'm a gamer. We both love to talk about games, and I've just been wanting you on the show for a long time, and I've been telling Drew, and here you are. So we're happy to have you here.
A fabled guest.
Yes.
No, I'm stoked. I love this kind of content and style of stuff, and I love video games, so it's great to have an outlet to talk about it.
Yeah.
So again, thank you.
Dude,
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking the time to be a part of this. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, Will's been talking about this awesome gamer from work for quite some time. So
God.
I'm really excited to chat with you. Dude, you got any social media or any projects you're working on that you want to plug?
Yeah, so I do some amateur music stuff on the side. My stage name is BennyOdd, so it's kind of like a play on my main name because my real name is Benjamin Todd. You drop the T, so it's odd. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But cool. On all social media platforms, search BennyOdd or Benny_Odd on Instagram. Okay. SoundCloud houses all of my links and whatnot on my page, which again, BennyOdd, just search it up. It's all there.
All right.
Very cool.
What kind of music do you make?
It's kind of like a menagerie of a lot of different stuff. I started out doing more, down and dirty singer-songwriter stuff, and I got kind of bored of it. I used to play at bars and do like open mics and things, and I kind of tried to move more into the electronic space, and I'm kind of in between that right now. I still play guitar every day. I try to practice because I'm trying to kind of get better at it. I'm pretty decent, but you can always get better at things, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. It kind of sits right now somewhere in the realm of like indie folk, indie rock with like some electronic inspirations. It's pretty eclectic, I'm not going to lie.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking some of that out. BennyOdd.
Absolutely. Yeah, BennyOdd. My SoundCloud doesn't have a lot of my current stuff because I've been in like a phase of just kind of holding back my content just because it's hard to get motivated, Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's some stuff up there. It's kind of weird. You might like it.
Very cool. So what kind of inspirations are you getting?
Inspirations? Yeah. It's a lot of I used to be obsessed with John Mayer as like as basic as that is because he's a phenomenal guitarist.
Oh, really
but I'm also great guitarist. I'm also really big into, like conventional hip hop music, like the Drakes and the Lil Waynes and the Futures and all that stuff. It's not my go-to, but I rely on that for a lot of like particular things, like what kind of snare drums do they use in pop music? What kind of hi-hats do they use in pop music? Okay. A lot of different stuff. Me and Will the other day were talking a lot about like these shred style guitarists like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and all those guys and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and those guys are crazy. I can't play like them, but I like it's crazy. It makes me feel like I'm playing like a Mega Man game nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
That's an interesting comparison.
I'm a big fan of progressive rock, progressive metal, all those shredders and stuff like that, man. Like Dream Theater was like the first band that I ever heard that was like the guitars just knocked my socks off, man. John Petrucci is like this just insane beast, and it just you tumble down this rabbit hole with Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, and
you go crazy.
Oh man, it's such a unrespected world. You know what I mean? Like there's just
absolutely.
Anyway,
that is a massive rabbit hole that Ben and I have certainly dove down plenty of times.
Yep.
I've wasted hours just watching that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't say wasted. I've enjoyed hours. And I remember I made you a playlist, Drew, recently of a lot of that kind of stuff for your GameStop cleanup.
which I enjoyed thoroughly.
Yeah, no, but that's awesome, Ben. We'll definitely check it out, and we'll spread the word as much as we can. And
why, thank you.
I think that's really cool that you're doing guitar and you're also pulling stuff from other genres of music, and you're not just trying to be the next SRV. You're pulling a little bit from everywhere and creating your own style.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard, to figure that out. There's so much content everywhere in all forms of media.
Indeed.
But you got to persevere. You'll go crazy if you don't have a hobby and stick to it and just try to do your thing.
100%. Yeah, I think a big part of creativity is like it takes time, and it's all about patience and, your place to put it out. I don't think you have to be on a schedule by any means.
Yeah, I agree 100% there. You just have to create, and it doesn't matter how frequently you do it. With podcasting, it's a little different. You really do want to try to create on a schedule, but like with music, like sometimes you have to go with what feels right,
Totally.
Yeah, and like there was a point when I was unemployed for 3 months prior, when I was in between jobs. It was kind of intentional because I wanted to have more time to kind of do my thing. And I made some really great music at that point, but I never got to finish it. And then I needed to start working to make more money. And then, I lose a lot of motivation to my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Not because I hate the job per se. It's just, when you're working on a hobby you care a lot about, it's not always relaxation and happiness. Sometimes you got to work, you got to learn,
Sure.
It's not always fun. Video games is great because you can just go right in, and it's usually pretty fun. Unless you're playing like an MMO and you have to like do like some really stupid shit to raid with your friends or something like that. that can be really stupid.
Yeah, I got to level up to level 755 before I can run this raid.
You're doing like World of Warcraft, you got to get ready for like all the checkups, and if you're not there on time, they fucking kick you out, make you feel like you're a scumbag because you weren't sitting at your desk playing a video game on time.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Dude,
that's
you're
ridiculous.
late, you're out.
Yeah, sorry, bro. We got like 30 other guys that want in.
Yeah, apparently Joe, who we've had on the show, he told me recently that he's a big Destiny 2 guy, and he plays with like a whole clan or whatever, and they do a lot of those raids. And he told me recently that there's one guy in there that's like a dad kind of persona where he's like, guys, come on, let's go, get it together. I
already hate
Joe, you're late. You're late. Like just calling people out and stuff. And Joe's been complaining to me about it here and there about how, this guy just kind of goes off sometimes, and he's just very like strict.
Yeah,
fuck that
I was
guy.
I was big into Destiny 2, and I had a similar experience. We were casual. We didn't even have a clan. I literally had to berate this guy, pretty much insult this guy over PSN because he wouldn't get off my case about messing up this one component of the raid. I was like, dude, this is a video game. I'm trying to relax.
Yeah.
You need to take a step back and understand that this is like, come on.
Makes me think of that South Park episode where they all get fat and play like WoW.
Yeah, I love that episode.
It's that kind of reminds me of like my own personal situation though with Destiny. Like Destiny 2, there was this raid that I really struggled with, and actually I don't even remember if it was Destiny 2 or Destiny 1. But it was the one with the wall of dicks. That would just like punch you off the ledge.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So like I was really struggling to get through this part of the game, and like I was running raids with Vic and Vency and Damien and a couple other people, and like I felt like I was holding them back because I was struggling so hard to get through this one section. So like I was almost like beating myself up for it. So it's kind of like the flip of what this guy was doing to you.
No. We used to have this thing with the first group of guys I played Destiny 1 with. We had this moral debate of, do we run the raids blind without looking up how to do them to get the experience, or do we look it up so that we can do it efficiently? And, we would waste so much time. And eventually our party fractured because it just, without knowing what to do, some of the mechanics are so they make such little sense.
Yeah.
You would never even guess to do them. So, everyone likes to do those things differently. And the problem with those games is you're forced to communicate so much that sometimes it helps to have a leader, someone that's giving direction.
Yeah.
But, the average gamer is someone that probably has a very fragile self-image and can't really handle that responsibility, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to be the guy who runs into the raid and just tries to fucking figure it out as I go along, I just don't have the time or the patience to do that. I'd much rather let somebody else do that for me and then watch the videos and learn what they're doing and then try to emulate that and struggle there, because otherwise I'd be struggling the whole time. And that's just, for me, that's not fun. Like you said, like, I like to sit back and relax when I play video games. I don't want to stress myself out. And, if I'm trying to figure out this puzzle that is just so convoluted, it doesn't make any sense unless, you have a guy standing facing north on the West Tower and, and
none of that. None of
another
that
guy is
spinning
around, circles 3 times counterclockwise and
360 no scopes.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, dude. I've never done one of those.
Same.
Never.
I have no desire to.
Oh man. So, what have you been playing, man?
What have I been playing? I picked up Nioh 2 recently. I haven't. Me and Will talked a little bit about that at work. I haven't put as many hours into it as I'd like. I kind of had a similar experience with the first Nioh. I played it for 5 to 10 hours initially, and then put it down for like 6 to 8 months.
Jeez.
For no reason really. It was just there's so many games out. The way I game typically is I'll have my single player game catalog, and then there's games that my friends will randomly pick up and come back to, and I'll feel inclined to play with them,
Mm-hmm.
Like Minecraft, right, recently, as childish and as old as that game is, my friends started playing it recently for the first time, and I was like, damn, I love playing that game with new players, because you can kind of have that, let me teach you how to do this, you know?
Sure.
So I went back to that recently, and I've been playing that. Also been playing a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
I know I kind of bashed MMOs before, because I love MMOs. I just don't like how they fit into my life currently.
Yeah.
And ESO is about to release. They're essentially putting Skyrim into the game.
I saw that.
Because the way ESO, their release schedule, they always put in like different, the different racial zones they put in. Saying, I love Skyrim. Everyone plays Skyrim. I'm sure you guys played the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I've been trying to pick it back up and kind of grind out a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's about it on my catalog. Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I don't know. MMOs are hard, dude, because to a certain extent, you're doing the same thing every time you play. But it's getting like, a fraction of a percentage more powerful that you chase. And it's kind of absurd. But
we had somebody on the show at one point that was trying to talk me into Elder Scrolls Online. It was actually Tom. I'm sure he's going to listen to this at some point. And I remember he showed it to me years ago, because that game's been out for a minute. And I just didn't like the style. I was like, I love Skyrim like immensely. Drew knows this, and a lot of our fans do. But with ESO, I don't like the format. So with the Skyrim expansion, I'm kind of intrigued, and I know that the game is like $8, or at least it was like a week ago. It's probably like 50 now, because that's just what happens, especially with my luck.
Yeah, it always changing.
But yeah, that's cool that you're playing that, man.
The game used to suck, full disclosure, because I've probably had between 6 to 10 different like bouts and sessions of playing it from its launch, and I always get bored of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm trying to decide how much more time to put into it. I really like that they have like the universal server thing. Everyone's in the same server, and you PvP in that one center zone, and it's the whole freaking. It's a huge map. It's a cool concept. I don't know if you ever played Guild Wars 2, but they have a similar like PvP style.
Huh. No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's all weird stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and how's Nioh 2 treating you?
It's good. I love that genre of games, and I'm also very, I'm kind of like a self-proclaimed weeboo to a certain extent. Like I like ninjas and stuff. So it fits not only into my gaming drive, but my, other flares. It's really hard. It's harder than the first one by magnitudes.
Wow. I've heard that game compared to like the Dark Souls franchise in a lot of ways.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard in different reasons in Dark Souls. I think part of the problem in Niihau is you can make it hard on yourself because it has such an intricate like skill progression.
Really?
Yeah, because you're constantly gaining points to put into your different respective weapons based on usage, and then you're also gaining points for things like ninja gear, like throwing ninja stars or casting magic, and it's just very it's just not a conventional way of leveling up your stuff. And also like it has like Diablo style loot tables.
Yeah.
So it's not like Dark Souls where, okay, this sword is going to be here every time I play.
Right.
You know, like this is going to be here every time I do this. So depending on what kind of drops you get, it might have varying levels of difficulty.
But are the drops like scaled based on your level, or like how does that work?
They are, yeah. So the kicker is this: they're scaled, but the weapons have like an insane amount of different stats they can roll.
Okay.
There's different classes of weapons that are weighted to have, you know, one roll probably more frequently than the other. Okay. But in reality, there's almost too many. Like one sword might make one of your stances deal more damage. One sword might make it so you can parry easier or have more elemental damage, and it goes crazy from there. They have weapons that make it so you do more damage the more money you have. Like just random stuff like that. So there's a lot of different directions to take it. And it's a JRPG to a certain extent, you know.
Right.
So it has that whole feel of like it's almost intentionally complicated.
You know what that reminds me of is the world tendency in Demon's Souls. Because I know that, like, based on your stats and stuff, like, weapons would kind of behave differently, which was a really hard thing to grasp, and still is, actually, the world tendency in Demon's Souls. It's very complex.
Yeah, I barely understand it. Definitely barely understand it. But it's cool. I heard they fixed the multiplayer. I haven't dived into that yet. I'm definitely going to try that at some point because my buddy has it. But there's just too many games. I rotate through my roguelike game category pretty frequently too. I play Gungeon probably every other day.
Gungeon?
I love Gungeon.
Is it
Enter the Gungeon? Yeah.
They just came out with Exit the Gungeon too, didn't they?
I think they did. I haven't looked at it. Didn't that have like a limited time exclusivity? I'm not sure. I don't remember. I just remember seeing it to like one platform.
It's on Steam and iOS apparently.
I'm so lost.
Then yeah, maybe. Yeah. Have you ever played Enter the Gungeon?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Oh, dude, it's so tight. I mean, you've played Binding of Isaac, right?
No, sir, but I do know about that game.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got that typical like bullet hell, like roguelike feel to it, but it's just its aesthetic is pure. Like it's called Enter the Gungeon. Mm-hmm. Everything in it has like the word gun in it, more or less. Like, the enemies are bullets. You can get guns that shoot guns that then shoot bullets. It's just its aesthetic is great.
All
of
a sudden, this all makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this now.
For years, I've been like, "What the fuck is a Gungeon?" I don't get it, but
yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like, yeah, your mission is to get a bullet or a gun that can kill the past, and it's literally a gun where the barrel is bent, so you're like it shoots back at you. So it's like, yeah, it's like you're on a mission to kill your past.
It's just
you're
silly,
effectively killing yourself. Yeah, it's so silly, but it's fun, and it has a really great dev team, and it's published by Devolver, and I like Devolver as a studio a lot,
sure,
and a team a lot.
Yeah.
I went to PAX East a couple years ago. I went 2 years in a row, and then I stopped going completely because it kind of got played out. But the Devolver team is always there in force, and they're always really cool.
They put out a lot of really just awesome indie games.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're the indie game gods.
Yeah.
They're great.
Without a doubt, I think that's a good way to put it. Just the sheer volume of stuff that they publish right now.
Yeah.
Looking really at this image I posted, that reminds me of that Doom enemy, Drew. I don't know what it's called.
Catcademon?
Yeah.
Yeah. If the Catcademon had a rocket launcher and a pistol.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jesus.
They have they're also a game. They do a lot of like shout outs to like other games. Like a lot of the items in there are inspired. They have like guns from Doom and like Judge Dredd and like
that's cool.
They have things from Dark Souls and pretty much every game. It's just a very fun game to play, but as both a gamer and a roguelike lover.
That's cool, man. I mean, it sounds like you're dabbling in a little bit of not everything, but like a few different genres here with, Minecraft and ESO and Neo 2 and then, Gungeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's like, those are just the ones that I've been playing now, but there's so many, dude. It's just, as a fan of games as a whole, I mean, I have my preferences. Oh, Call of Duty too. I didn't mention that because playing Call of Duty doesn't always feel like I'm actually being a gamer. I kind of feel like I'm being a casual like tool almost, but it's fun,
I like that.
It's like stress relief. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a separation between people that play only Call of Duty and people that play a more broad. But at the same time, I like Call of Duty. I like shooters a lot. I just can't play just shooters. I've never understood people that can.
Right. Yeah, I get kind of hipstery about that. Like when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a gamer. I play COD like this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know if you're like really a gamer or if you're just playing like COD. But that's just my hipster side that comes out. I'm like, well, in theory, you're not really a gamer unless and I get all like weird about it. So,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That's kind of why Destiny was a cool game, because it was kind of like it was almost like baby's first RPG. Like you had a lot of these COD players or the people that only played one style of game kind of got to get a taste of how gamers like us get fucked by loot tables and random drops and shit. So like that was fun, because that game had horrible drop rates until they literally just boosted it for everyone. I don't know. I could talk ad nauseum about my issues with how that game was developed.
You want to talk about horrible drop rates? Let's talk about Anthem.
Ooh.
Oh God, dude. Yeah. I wanted that game to succeed so hard, but at the same time, after Mass Effect Andromeda, I almost was happy that it failed, because like I don't know. I don't like it when these big studios that have had past big successes and shouldn't be failing like this, like when they disappoint their fans so much, especially with a game like Andromeda or Anthem that was literally just failed because of how poorly it was managed. That's just a slap in the face as a consumer, you know?
It was heartbreaking. Like, man, like even now, like I want to cry a little.
It's bringing back like old nightmares, even for me.
Oh God!
Did you guys play it? Did you guys actually play it?
Dude, I was on the beta. Like I was a day one. I was a day one purchase.
You're like, this is going to be it for me. I'm going to love this.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed Destiny, and I am huge on Mass Effect, and I'm like, this is going to be the perfect blending of everything, and like on the beta, like I couldn't get into a fucking game for 2 days. The beta lasted, I think, like 3.
Sounds
and like I should have
good.
I should have seen the writing on the wall, right? I should have known, but I'm like, oh no, they'll fix it. I was an apologist for a month and a half. I'm like, oh no, they'll fix it. I got the game, same issues, no fucking change.
No, and you had your awakening.
No, it still took me another month.
Yeah,
because I was like, I was so in love with the things that game did right that I was willing to overlook the things that it was doing wrong with the hopes that it would get fixed.
Yeah.
Well, that was a talking point for us for a while, because that game was so promising, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the flying mechanics and the combat in that game, when they're on point, unbelievable. I mean, truly, to this day, like, I will defend that stuff. The problem is, glitches, for starters,
a lot of them.
Abysmal drop rates for high-level gear. I mean, not even slightly generous, just abysmal. And like the economy system is just so broken. Like there were just so many problems with the game, and it's just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. Sounds like it was a really rough time in your life.
Man, it was a really rough time. I remember taking time off from work for that.
I'm just thinking of like an old episode title now, thanks to Ben, like The Anthem Awakening.
Oh God.
It's just like, I don't know. At the time, I was playing a lot of Destiny, and I mean, you played a decent amount of Destiny, right,
yeah,
Drew?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Did you play it, Will?
No, sir.
Yeah, so there was, that game definitely, because it was Bungie behind the game, there was so much tension amongst the player base and the developers at certain points, because people were vocally asking for certain things. And, that was a time in my gaming career where I was even becoming very toxic, because I was like, yo, fuck this, man. Why are they doing this to the game, bro? They're messing up my game, dude. They're asking me to pay money for this, dude. What the fuck? And it's just like, so... I don't know. I was being a little toxic idiot. I was like, yeah, I'm glad that game failed. These developers suck.
When a game makes you toxic, it's time to step away from it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't played Destiny in a while, and I think I stopped after Shadowkeep. I played one round of like their new battle pass system. It was okay.
Yeah.
But it's just too repetitive. These days, I'm just trying to play games that give me the consistent vibe and that don't mess up my sleep schedule.
I mean, like I really enjoyed what Destiny brought to the table, but I felt like I was just logging in daily out of obligation and just basically doing chores.
Exactly. Just literally chores,
just so I can kind of keep up with everything. Now, I never made it to the battle pass part of the game. Like I was done with Destiny 2 by the time that they released those. But
well, what sucked about that was because the fastest way to level that up was to get experience, and the fastest way to get experience was to do bounties, and those are the most chore-esque parts of the game,
Correct.
And it's just like, what the heck, And then even made that suck even more was that there was an event that you could go into which would give you an experience buff, and so you do all the bounties, save them all up, clog your inventory, go to the event, cash in. It's just like it's not a fun gameplay loop. I know games these days are very a big thing that developers talk about is the loop. What do we want the player doing repetitively, because that's what they're going to get pissed off about. And it's a bummer when you have a game that has so much potential and so much to it, and the loop is just doing the same thing every day. That's not fun.
That's interesting. Like, kind of seeing that sort of insight on how these games could be developed, to create that loop. It kind of reminds me of like, how social media and algorithms are working. How can we keep these players doing something that may potentially aggravate them? Yeah,
definitely.
It's a good way to put it.
Definitely.
So let's kind of rewind the clock a little bit here, man.
Yeah, we went off there. We were.
It happens. It happens.
You just got to roll with it. When you got a good topic, you just got to go with it, man.
You do.
But we also want to know something about the beginning, the origins of Ben as a gamer.
My saga.
Yeah. How did you get into gaming?
Yeah. So my dad, back in I think it was 1997 or something. What if I remember the exact time? It was 2 a.m. He came inside. He got me a PlayStation 1
nice.
For Christmas, and he was like, this is going to change the future. My dad was a big believer in technology from the get go. He showed me how to make build computers, not make them. I'm literally making the motherboards or something. He showed me how to build computers and do all that stuff. And he bought me the PS1, and he was like, this is going to revolutionize how your generation consumes content. And I was like, all right, I'm like 4 or 5 years old, so whatever. I don't know what that means. And he ended up using it more than I did, honestly. He was a really big fan of the original Metal Gear Solid. Me and Will talked about that, because obviously love that game. And I was so perplexed by that game because it was like a stealth game. And I was like, what are you doing? Up to that point, my most exposure to games was platformers, like Castlevania. My mom used to play that on a Nintendo and things like that. And then you have this game where the characters have much more personality. There's an actual plot which is very convoluted at times, and you're doing something that I haven't seen in a game. He also used to play a lot of Pitfall 3D. I don't know if you remember the original Pitfall from back in the day.
I do. Oh, yeah.
And then they made the PlayStation 1 version. Did you guys ever happen to play that game? I think it's kind of obscure.
Maybe on a demo or something, like one of those old school PS1 demo discs.
My dad got pissed at that game, dude. There was a point where literally he was like, because the thing is that the difficulty of games from that generation came from a lot of the controls, these old tank controls and lack of good camera motion. The platforming itself and the aspects of the individual game aspects weren't that hard. The enemies were pretty one-dimensional, but literally you couldn't even see what you were doing half the time.
Yeah, well,
so
if you think about the way games were being designed at that point, you had developers for the first time diving into a truly 3D world, and you had and with the PlayStation 1, the original controller, everybody talks about the DualShock, but the original PlayStation 1 didn't have a DualShock controller. They had just a regular, 4-directional D-pad. So you had this 3D world with a controller that wasn't really capable of moving in a full 360 degrees without the additional use of other buttons. Now enter the DualShock controller, and the developers have this huge learning curve in figuring out how to actually program the damn thing, first of all. And secondly, all these other games that are using the DualShock controller still have to support the original controller.
Which is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like, the PlayStation era, and the PlayStation specifically, was huge for, the gaming as we know it today. But it wasn't until PlayStation 2 and GameCube and that generation of system set, we really started to see, I think, 3D worlds kind of become a little bit more intuitive.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And I played the Spyros and the Crash Bandicoots and all of those hard industry titles from the Sony generation of that time period. But yeah, I was a Sony fan for life after that. For no reason, I just continued buying Sony consoles. It really made me feel good in the PS4 generation because of how great the exclusives were. PS3 generation, not so much. That was a hard one for us.
Well, what were some of your favorite games from the PlayStation gen?
Of the PlayStation gen?
Yeah.
I would say Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped was probably one of my most played titles because, dude, there was a point where you can get a Peach bazooka.
Ooh.
And that was and it was later in the games. And I would mostly rent games at that time because that was back when Blockbuster was actually popping, and you could actually go in there and get something.
You mean Peach from Mario?
No, like Peach from like it was like you collected peaches in Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, a peach bazooka. A bazooka that shoots peaches. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
exactly. And then,
see, this is why I'm a host on the show, because I'm insane.
You guys ever play Tamba? That was the one from back in the day.
That's a rare game.
That is a rare game.
I actually, I'm pretty sure I have the first and second one, because me and my brother pooled money to buy it when we were kids on eBay.
Nice.
And that was like, you were playing as this crazy like jungle guy with pink hair, and you were fighting against pigs. Yeah. And they were like pig magicians, and it was very obscure. There wasn't a lot of, your character couldn't talk. Other characters could, but it was so weird. And the first one was mostly it was like 2D, but the art style was kind of weird. And then the second one was kind of 3D, and there was a fabled extension of the series that never happened, to my dismay. But I played that one quite a bit. And those are the ones that really stick with me. It's hard because like my memory from back then is so scarce,
Right.
It's just the ones that stick with me there. And obviously I did end up getting Metal Gear Solid and playing that and having a blast playing that game.
You mentioned that you just kind of became a Sony fan out of nowhere. I mean, it sounds like maybe just because you started with Sony, like a Sony product,
I think so.
That perhaps inherently that just kind of became your, what you knew.
Definitely. And also, like, Metal Gear definitely played a big part of it because, the PS2 generation was great, by the way. It wasn't like that was a slouch of a console. It was an amazing console and great sales and all that jazz. But it never felt like a decision to me, I guess is kind of what I was getting at, and I never was like staunchly defending Sony. I've always felt that, Sony consoles and Microsoft consoles are entirely comparable, and people that argue the point to death are just like, why? Just to let people enjoy their games. And, I also have a really nice PC, and I understand a lot of the claims for the PC Master Race. So, if you're going to fight to death for a console, I think you're doing it wrong already, Yeah. Like, just pick what you want and enjoy it, and understand the PC players are still better than you, I'm just kidding on that point. But, that's the thing. Late. It's like whenever I would hear console people debate, like, the hardware components, I'd be like, dude, this is just absurd to me, because you're still light years away from the PC stuff. With the PS5 and these consoles on the verge of coming out, I am a little curious because they're toting that PS5 SSD really hard. It's going to have like some Sony specific new stuff. I don't know what, to me, it's probably just going to be an SSD, but if I would love to see the manufacturers differentiate their consoles a little more, because the PS4 Xbox One era was borderline identical.
Yeah, hardware, there wasn't a ton of difference. It really boiled down to software and exclusives.
Yeah. You have people arguing over if the controllers have headphone jacks and if they have batteries or not. Like that was the shit people would argue about, as opposed to like, how does it play and perform?
Right. Well, I mean, if you look back historically at some of the other systems, like the architecture was just completely different. Now we're basically at the point where a console is a PC.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an affordable gaming PC.
It's compact.
And the only system that really differentiated itself this generation was the Switch.
Yeah, and I got to say, that's a great console. I can't even bash the Switch. I think it's great.
I've been playing my Switch almost nonstop for the past 3 days. It's been great.
What have you been playing?
Octopath Traveler has been getting a lot of love.
That, yeah.
And I picked up a copy of Picross S last night, which
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a puzzle game. It's one of those like logic puzzle games. I was a big fan of them on the DS. They're really chill, really relaxing, and basically you're just making a picture using number clues. You have like a grid, like a 5x5 grid or a 10x10 grid. Yeah, it's super dorky, but I fucking love them.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, so
I've never played puzzle games. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I'm just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Whatever.
Dude, this is just making me think of like when Laura gets so bored.
I like Sudoku.
Dude, that's exactly it. Like when she gets bored, she breaks out Sudoku, and she's playing it like. She's playing it like a fucking 80-year-old grandma, like in an airport,
I'm not going to lie. I have like 3 different Sudoku games on my phone right now.
Boom, dude.
I fucking love that shit. You know what, though? Yeah. Like that's my way of like unwinding. Like those are my late night games when I just want to like, I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I'm not quite like tired yet. I want to just
100%,
just give my mind a little bit of work, do something a little bit, more logic based, and then pass the fuck out. So
I fell into that trap with mobile games because mobile games are a thing where it's they're becoming much more prominent these days, and I dabble because I'm a millennial and I like to see what they are and how they function, and some of them get really popular. Like people meme about Candy Crush all day long.
God, yeah.
But some of these other ones are just they're time wasters right before bed. Just trying to see what's up, and then they try to ask you to pay money, and then it's like, God, Sudoku never did this.
You know what's the fucking worst, man? And I'm guilty of playing these fucking games. Those idle fucking clickers.
I have a couple installed right now.
Oh God! Like a fucking crack addict. I keep downloading new ones.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is.
So it's. I don't even know how to explain it. Basically, it's like not a game.
Yeah. So it's a lot of them revolve around like you have a formation usually of like 5 characters or so, and you play the game and progress in the game. And as you progress in the game, you're getting currency items and you're getting characters. And most of the characters, at least the ones that I play, you're getting these characters and you combine them to make stronger characters, but you don't ever control the battle. You just kind of put your things on the map and like they do it for you. And if you turn the game on after not playing for a while, you get resources, and it's like a resource management game.
Okay.
I mean, that's like one form of an idle game I'm playing. I know there's other forms of them. I don't know which ones you were playing particularly, Drew, but it's
the one that I'm like into right now is mostly resource management. Like basically, like it's a transportation tycoon thing. Like I'm building trucks to haul products so that I can build more trucks to haul more products so that I can build more trucks to haul like, more
to
products.
What end,
Yeah, there is no end. They're the fucking worst. I download them. They're free. So like I'll download them and they're like heavily ad driven. And then of course they're also pay to win. So a lot of times you can just watch an ad and it'll like double your winnings. So, I'll throw the devs a bone. I'll watch the ad. I'll double my winnings. I'll play them for like a week and then I'll never go back. I'll uninstall them.
What a strange little thing.
And what's messed up about the ones I've been playing is like, so there's guilds and there's PvP and stuff like that, and it's so obvious that the people at the highest tier are paying all the money. And what's crazy is like some of these games are regularly, like the one I'm playing is AFK Arena. It's pretty popular. Yep. And there's another one which is advertised everywhere called Raid Shadow Legends or something like that. Yep. I've never played that one, but like that one, you see ads for that literally everywhere.
Every fucking game has an ad for that.
It's the same thing. It has combat, quote unquote combat, but it's an idle game, and the combat is mostly just you trying to pick which characters are best. But then you Google, okay, which characters are best? So let me go to the tier list. So you're taking all the thought out of actually picking the team. So when it comes down to it, you're just hoping that with the RNG, because you pay resources for new characters and you hope you get a good one.
Yeah.
So like when it comes down to it, it's you don't get to see the algorithms. The developers could just secretly be fucking the whole player base, and they probably are.
I have a quick story that I must share, and it's on the topic of this. So I used to work. I can't really talk about the company or go into too much detail, but I used to work at a place before where I work now, and I was helping a lady that came in with like a bank statement, and it was full of all these like little charges. And she was really old, so like she was an elderly lady, must have been like 80 at least. And she had her phone, and she was showing me that I think it's like word search. And
word search,
yeah, it was word search, like the app or game or whatever. And she was playing that constantly. And she was like, "Yeah, I just don't know what all these charges are." And I was like, "Oh no!" And I saw what she was doing. And she was buying like more like words or like buying more like points or whatever to get more words. And she didn't realize that she was getting charged every single time she was buying. And she was like doing it as she was buying more as she was talking to me. I'm like, stop. Like,
oh my God.
This is why you have a Bible on my desk right now full of charges that you don't even know about. And once I told her, I thought she was going to die. And I was like, oh my God, I can't be responsible for this lady's death.
I feel so sad. That makes me so sad, dude.
It was really sad,
we saw
actually.
that. Yeah.
Because she had no idea.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I think it's gotten better. Like, the reason why I'm playing what I'm playing is because it is more self-aware, They have less characters in their character select pool than usual, and the characters are a lot more fleshed out and diverse and things like that. But, there was a period, I don't know how many years ago that was, Will, but there was a period where when these games, when the concept of a freemium game was first coming to fruition, where it was just so toxic and took advantage of people, and that was probably what happened to that lady. And she was probably older, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I still think of the game Flappy Bird, which I find is a very interesting story about how this guy, who I think was in Asia or something, created this game that we all heard about, and apparently he became like a millionaire, like a multi-millionaire from this game, and then just disappeared because I guess the fame, or like the potential fame that was kind of projected his way from this game was overwhelming, so he just disappeared. The game ended, and I think somebody died over it too. Like somebody got stabbed. Like it was like
No, I think so.
Two younger brothers were like fighting over it, and like one of them got stabbed and died, and like it was a big thing. You should look it up.
Flappy Bird gets real.
Yo, dude, like I mean, I know like when we're playing fighting games, it gets pretty heated, but who the fuck gets heated over Flappy Bird?
Yeah.
You never know, dude.
So yeah, I think a lot of those mobile games generally are incredibly addictive.
People were also like, because you couldn't download it from the App Store anymore at a certain point. People were like selling their iPhones with that game installed for like a serious upcharge. Kind of like how people did with, did you guys ever play that PT, that tech demo for the Silent Hills that came out back in the day?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Hideo Kojima and
Terrifying,
Guillermo del Toro.
Terrifying.
Yeah. My buddy still has a copy of that installed on his PlayStation, and I hope he never ever gets rid of it, because that's literally worth money just to have that installed on your PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
that is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
So is Flappy Bird. Yeah. I just Googled it, and the first thing that comes up is how much is a phone with Flappy Bird on it worth, and it's going from 1,000 to like over 100,000. It's insane.
That's so ridiculous.
Just fucking League of Legends. Load it.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. League of Legends is like that too, because there's a lot of character skins that from like, you know, because the game's been out for like over 10 years. There's character skins from 10 years ago that are worth a lot of money. I actually logged onto the game one day to play recently after not playing for a while, play with my friends, and I was playing a character I'd never played before, but I had a random skin that I just was given because I played the game when it was in beta back in the day. They're like, bro, how'd you get that skin? How'd you have that? And I was like, what do you mean? This is like worth something?
Oh, man.
They're like, kid doesn't even know. Like, yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, it's crazy how things appreciate in value. The supply and demand, right? There's no supply.
That's true. And there's a lot of demand, or at least some demand.
Yeah, people need to play Flappy Bird.
So I'm going to try and segue from Flappy Bird back into the PlayStation.
Yeah, go for it.
You mentioned that Metal Gear Solid was one of the games that you got into, and the Metal Gear Solid has been a pretty big game in Will's life. The first game is something that I really fell in love with as well too. Although I personally kind of pulled away from it after the first game. Tell me about like your experience with that game, playing it for the first time.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously, when I played the first, I didn't play it like when my dad played it. He played it, and then my parents divorced, and then he took the PlayStation and all that stuff, and I didn't really play, you know, the PS1 of that era too much anymore. But after I got the PS2 and the backwards compatibility, I was like, this is time. I'm going to play Metal Gear Solid 1. Yeah. And I bought a copy on eBay, and I actually bought like a foreign copy by accident, and it didn't work, and I was so heartbroken. Because back in the day, to play a foreign title on your PS2, you had to get like a format disc, and you had to do all this stuff to it, and I just didn't know how to do it. Then one day, my mom found a copy at like the GameStop randomly and bought it for me. Or maybe, you know, back then it was EB Games. Yep. Because that was before.
Oh, yeah.
EB Games. Rest in peace.
That's when I worked there, man.
Pour one out.
And she brought it home, and I played that, and I remember being simultaneously amazed and confused. Like, there's this one, that boss fight against Psycho Mantis, where you have to take your controller out and put it into the other port, and like, I was like, literally, how are they doing this? Like, I hadn't, and that's what really captivated my, you know, gaming in general, because it's more, at that point, it's more than playing the game. You're interacting with the physical world to play the game. Right. That's insane to me, you know? And, you know, and then there was that part where you had to, when you're strapped into that table thing and you're being like electrocuted and you got to try and like hit the circle button to save Meryl.
That was
you know
tough.
What I'm talking about?
That was real tough.
Like, is it even possible to pass that without even like cheating? It's in some format. I don't know. I never could. And does Meryl even die? I would say no, because of Metal Gear Solid 4, you know, like, so how does that work? You know,
it's not like the save file carries over or anything.
Yeah. And you know, when you fail that event, they never really expand. I don't think you see, you know, you see her on, isn't she like on the top of like one of the some, I don't remember the scene. You're like fighting in this room with what the fuck? I'm forgetting all the characters.
I don't
names.
remember.
You know what I'm talking
now.
about, Will? Help me out. Yeah,
paint the picture.
Isn't there a point where you're fighting against Liquid in this room? It's kind of like a tan brownish room, and there's like things are blowing up, shit's hitting the fan, and Meryl's like on top of like, I don't think it's like a Metal Gear Rex, but like it's like a big pillar, and you got to like try to rescue her, but you don't. I don't remember. I just remember it happens right before you like zoom out of the tunnel on that car with the gun with the other with Otacon. I think.
You know, honestly, man, as big of a fan as I am, I have not played that game in years.
Well, and understandably so. And, and that's kind of the thing. It's like my favorite Metal Gear Solid was Metal Gear Solid 3 because I played it when I was older, so I remember all of it. I replayed it multiple times, and it was at that really niche moment of like, okay, the controls are still kind of janky but good. The story was incredible, and the characters had so much depth. Metal Gear Solid 2 was good, but to be honest with you, the last hour of that game gave me nightmares. Like, that
it's creepy, dude.
Yeah, when did you play Metal Gear Solid 2, Drew?
No, I didn't play that one.
Dude, there's this whole moment where like you're in Arsenal gear. I don't know where you are, but like you're getting called by people on your codec, and they're speaking in like random languages, and they're saying random stuff, and they're trying to get you to like, aren't they trying to get you to shut the game off?
Oh yeah,
like, they're literally saying turn the game off, and it's just like I was sitting there like with my brother, like, dude, is this what's happening? Like, I was so scared.
Yeah, it's like almost demonic.
Metal Gear Solid 2 wasn't my favorite either, because like, let's be real, you're not playing a snake, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So like,
that was a huge shock to the world, really.
Yeah, and you got Ian Pliskin, of course, which is fucking Snake. It's just like freaking. Or is it not? The story was so complicated too. I don't know.
This is why I checked out.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like, the beautiful part of Metal Gear Solid is, like, in my opinion, you don't have to be one of those purists that understands every single part of the show. It's kind of like there's this anime I like called Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's like very popular. It's from the 90s. And it's just like, it's such a convoluted, complicated story, but it's those individual moments where the characters have those really characterizing points and kind of say something that you can relate to as a person. That's what it's there for. You don't have to understand exactly what happened in Metal Gear Solid 2 right when Raiden first landed there, or like,
said.
Yeah, you just have to understand the emotions the characters are going through and how they're kind of put in the situation, and they're trying to do the better good, but like, what is the better good in a time where politics and machines and war are so intertwined in this almost inexplainable fashion. Metal Gear Solid 3 definitely was the best, but Metal Gear Solid 4 was amazing too. Yes. Like, just because it gave new life to the series in the form of the revamped controls.
Yeah. I'm one of the rare people that loves 4, massively so.
People hate 4? I thought people loved 4.
A lot of people hate 4. It's disappointing.
The story, yeah, but like the gameplay was sparse compared to the cutscenes sometimes, but the gameplay was dope. They were just like, you could start a war with like the local insurgents, like you could frickin' go to that. What was his name? What was the merchant guy's name?
It was
Dexter.
It was Drevin.
Yeah. You could like buy like a Barrett 50 cal from him and like shoot at frickin' like those like, what were they called? Geckos? What were those things called? Those geckos. Big things. Yep. Dude, it's so funny because I'm saying these things without actually knowing if they're what they're called, and they're right. Like my subconscious must have really latched onto that game. But yeah, it was just like, dude, so much crazy stuff.
Yeah, you had options. Game. It was either I'm going to play this game like I normally do with the silenced trank gun, or I'm going to go like Rambo. And of course, I did trank gun because that's just how I play those games. But
I did Rambo, dude. I went hard.
Oh my gosh!
Because for me, it was like, I was like, yo, this is a Metal Gear Solid game, but I can actually like aim over the shoulder and like use my guns correctly. Oh, we're going. I just had to try that out because it was a really weird feel coming from the previous game, dude. Like in Metal Gear Solid 3, in order to literally aim first person or actually have control over your gun, you had to hit like 2 or 3 buttons, like at the same freaking time. Like, isn't that absurd? Just to aim your gun.
I know that you wanted to touch on 6-axis at one point, and that was one game that kind of utilized it fairly well.
It did. I'll say you're right there. I don't even actually. How did it? I don't remember how it utilized it, to be honest with you.
It was like peeking, I believe, like peeking around stuff, or if you were in like a little like fucking barrel, you could do like weird shit and like peek through.
Like, yes, you're right.
Things like that.
Yeah. Fuck, man, that was such. I just remember the there was like those cut scenes in between missions, right? Where like you would go into like you're with Otacon and like in Sunny, you're in and you controlled the little like the little mobile like robot thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah, that was like, Mark II or something.
Yeah, those were like 2 hours. But my God. Definitely crazy.
It's like a whole rabbit hole you can go down with those games.
Dude, bringing up Metal Gear is a problem because it's just not only can you talk, not only do you talk forever about it, you also confuse yourself while talking about it.
Well, I'm confused just listening to you guys. Like,
I'm like insecure.
I'm like, oh yeah, Psycho Mantis is great, and then you never heard from me again.
Dude, shut up, Drew. You fake fan.
I remember this one time I was trying to explain to my dad like something about like MGS4, and I sounded like Dom Beck, dude, trying to explain something. Like it was God, it was so hilarious.
Oh man,
I had to keep back it. I was like, wait, no, it's not really that. It's hang on, give me like 5 minutes.
That's ridiculous.
It's tough to explain.
Well, let's move back to, you said that the PlayStation 2 was your next system. You stuck with Sony.
Oh yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that experience.
So PS2 was amazing for a variety of reasons. I mean, first thing was that it was the first game console that gave me exposure to online gaming. You know, my mom bought me one of those big. You had to like literally buy the network adapter and attach it to the PlayStation 2 with a freaking screwdriver. Like, you know, it was very, very cool and clunky. And I used to play, I think it was Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. That was like an intergenerational title, I think, between PS2 and the PS3 era. But yeah, that was great. But the first game I ever got on PS2 was Onimusha 2. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that franchise, that series.
Very loosely.
Yeah, it holds a special place in my heart because, you know, I personally feel it was a founding father of so many games that we play today. Right. You know, it was a hardcore, you know, JRPG hack and slash game. It wasn't too challenging. They actually re-released Onimusha 1 on PS4. They did like a remaster of it, and I bought that, and I probably beat it in like literally 2 hours because it's not a long game if you know where to go.
Right.
But you know, it's tank controls. It's one of those games where you're constantly like, you know, progressing, find an item, go back, use that item, go to a different spot. You know, it's one of those like very linear games, but it was cool. You're a samurai fighting zombies. It's in 3D. The characters are just like, you know, they're all honorable and chivalrous, and they're driven by very like passionate virtues and stuff. And it was just a very cool experience. I actually couldn't even beat it as a kid. And it was also a game where like you would attack something and you would absorb the souls like that it released. And that was a mechanic that when the first game came out, you didn't really see that. That was like a very new concept of like, you know, just and it was a very little thing. It wasn't like that intense, but all these games copy it, like God of War. Right. And, you know, you're always absorbing shit. So that was really cool. And then after that, Jak and Daxter 2. Jak and Daxter 2.
Those are fun games.
Jak and Daxter 2 was crazy because, you know, you had Jak and Daxter 1, which was a very lighthearted, you know, game. It didn't really have a lot of grit to it. And then it's like the developers just like started doing drugs. You know, it's like they were like, hey, let's make this game super dark, dude. And they you know, you're in like it has like a GTA styled environment with side missions and vehicles and guns, and it's just like, very wild.
I don't have a ton of experience with those games, especially not back in the day.
Yeah, because I was a lot younger back then, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like I've dabbled with a little bit more recently, but I didn't really have that frame of reference with how like it progressed from being very lighthearted to a little bit more serious.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was cool to see. And, you know, I think that you look at Nintendo as a platform, right, and how that's always been a console they say is marketed towards children, and to a large extent, you're correct. But then every now and then they'll let like a Resident Evil 4 slip through, you know, which originally launched only on GameCube, right? Right. You know, that was a GameCube exclusive game.
They pick and choose very carefully, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nintendo's a very deliberate company.
Definitely.
Definitely agree with that.
Definitely. So I also had one of those like multi-taps for the PS4. You ever have one of those? Yeah, and that was like, you know, again, you have more examples of having to like literally bolt on additional hardware. Yeah. And it was dicey back then because PS2 era for like accessories and peripherals, you had like a different manufacturers. Like you get like a Mad Catz controller. You know what I mean? You could get, like, you know, and like, you go to your friend's house and be like, you can get this one, and it's just like, it's like 2 times bigger than the original and has like 6 extra buttons.
They always give
and you're
like,
dude, why do I do this?
I remember
like a turbo mode.
I remember when I got my PlayStation 1, my mom bought it for me, and she got it for me for Christmas, and she got me, you know, the system came with a regular controller, and then she bought me like a Mad Catz controller to go with it. And she's like, I couldn't find the Sony ones. Like, they were nowhere to be found. And then, like, fast forward, like, you know, 5 years later or so, I buy my Sega Dreamcast, and I buy the system, and it's great. And then I couldn't find a controller, so I bought a Mad Catz controller. It's the worst.
Did it work?
It worked, but it was a piece of shit. Like they always are, just the worst fucking controllers ever, man.
Dude, they sucked. And like I was saying with that turbo mode, they always have a button. Yeah, and it's like, and it would make the controller not function. And I was like, "What is this? Is not turbo at all." Dude, like, what am I using this for?
Even better than the turbo was the slow motion mode, which was literally just them pressing pause over and over and over again.
Oh my word!
You never experienced that?
No.
No, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. There's some controllers that do a slow motion mode, and obviously it doesn't work with every game because it's literally just pressing the start button as fast as possible.
How strange.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's slow motion.
Who would think to do that, dude?
Mad Catz?
That's insane to me.
I was going to say the same thing. Hey, man, they make great arcade sticks. They had a good run there.
They do.
I have no doubt, dude.
I would say that their quality of their product has improved quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Microsoft license them to do the remakes of the Duke?
I have no idea.
Maybe.
I think they did.
I mean, they probably did a pretty good
Duke.
Give that a Google.
Let's see here. Yeah. Well, that doesn't look like what I'm looking for. I don't know. I'll look into it, but
okay.
Yeah. But what was interesting about the PS2, and because I was literally looking over my shoulder because I have a big stack of a portion of my PS2 games. I owned substantially more games back then than potentially I do now because, not a lot of the games were cross-platform. The Xbox 360, I mean the Xbox in general wasn't even a thing for a large portion of the PS2's life, and almost every game, even if it wasn't good, it felt good. Both because I was young and also because we didn't have this. The internet wasn't what it is now, so you didn't have this echo chamber of people constantly berating you with reviews, or at least I was too young to really look at them. And
sure.
I used to read Game Informers back then.
Oh yeah.
I would wait for the magazine to come in to find if a game was good. And additionally, games there were so many games that were dirt cheap. You could go to GameStop or EB Games. I need to put that in reference. I used to go to EB Games, and you could find like random games for like under $5. You have no idea if they were good, no idea what they are. Didn't have a cell phone, couldn't Google it. I would just buy it. It's $5.
Yep.
Pop it in and see if it was good. And some of them were bad, and some of them were amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not like these days where like so many games these days parody each other. Like, oh, this game has a really good inventory system. This game's going to copy it.
Sure.
This game has it was just what a wild time, man. I really miss gaming in that point in my life.
I miss the startup of PS2, the sound.
Yeah, dude. Oh God.
That's
you
crazy.
miss managing your memory card. You miss that shit.
Oh my God, what a weird sentence.
We're still pretty much doing that these days with how big these games are.
It's true.
Like, yeah, it's fucked.
Managing your memory card. That's so true, though.
God.
I feel like every time I play a new game or buy a new game, I have to delete like 8 games.
Yeah. I heard it has something to do with, on the PS4, it has something to do with like when your games update, like Destiny 2, when the games update, they need more space than the games actually take themselves. So like I would have like 40 free gigs free on my PlayStation, but to install like a 2 gig update, I would need like 100 gigs free.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like just because it's like doing some kind of like juggling act with the installation, or
Dude, I'm not smart enough to like know. I guess what I should say is I haven't Googled it enough. I was looking into it at one point, but then I broke down and bought a Pro anyways because I just wanted a Pro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I haven't had that problem since. I tried using an external hard drive once. I like formatted it and all that. But I didn't have like the proper hard drive for like gaming,
right?
And I was getting a lot of pop in and like slow rendering on my games because of the hard drive.
Oh, that sucks.
Only in certain games. It was in the Division 1. Like I would go into a zone and the textures wouldn't pop in, and my friends would be playing, and it would like they'd be doing their stuff. It has to do with how games load and stuff like that.
Interesting. It's bizarre too, because I know with like the Xbox One, for example, I don't know about on the Xbox One X, but the Xbox One, if you had games loaded to an external hard drive, they actually loaded faster than on the internal drive.
I think it was because my hard drive was like literally like not meant for it was like it was an older one. Like I was using a hard drive that I had bought like 5 years prior and just thought it was fine.
Gotcha.
And it was like a last ditch. It was a Seagate. It was like a last ditch effort to try to get install a freaking game. And it was just didn't work.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Got it from like Walmart, like Seagate 50G.
Yeah, dude. Just like being an idiot.
That's funny.
Hey, live and learn.